What's up everyone, it's DeagleBeagle. So today we're going to be going over how to use Charizard. Now, first, before we even do that, why am I going over this? Well, this is Colding Light's team. He does use Choice Scarf. Now, I don't agree with the idea that Charizard can only use Choice Scarf as the only good item. Even though I've heard other people say that, I don't really want to say their names and call them out, but that just seems kind of close-minded unless they explain like why that is. So let's look at it. This team got top 11th in the Victory Road tournament, and I will say this is one of the only years that I remember where Victory Road hosted a big tournament and there wasn't some kind of scandal, and I think I know why. Partly why. Luck and the fact that the winner was Brazilian and not American, so it's harder for people to figure out dirt on that person and try to make it into a scandal from, the jealous people that probably didn't do too well. So yeah, Adrian Hurley, that's his real name. Colding Light. So the pace is even right here. Was it a modest? Oh yeah, it doesn't say the nature. Huh. It's the same as this rental code. Anyways, Choice Scarf. No, Choice Scarf is a good item on Charizard, but you have to wonder, why are you even using Charizard in the first place? And just because it got top 11th in a Victory Road tournament doesn't mean that it's a good Pokemon. Like, on this team it could be, but I wouldn't use Charizard because why would you, unless you really need Air Slash with a stab? Or I mean, maybe it's typing or whatever, but like he could have just used like Typhlosion, the ghost one. You can't fake out it. It has Eruption, which Eruption is really good. I mean, he does have Torkoal for Eruption, but I mean, he could also have a naturally faster Pokemon with Eruption, like a Scarf, um, Typhlosion. Now, is it going to be as powerful as Charizard with solar power? No. Not for single target damage anyways. But it's going to have a really powerful spread move. So, it is questionable though using a choice item with Eruption. So, I'm not saying what Colding Light didn't make sense, but it probably did make sense for this kind of team, even though I think that's a little bit too many fire moves. I know there's Sun, but... And then what is this? Terra Fighting? Terra Fighting, I guess, is fine. I'm sure he probably wanted it because of the Heat Ran and stuff to do more damage, or just do more damage in general, even though you can get fake outed, so... I prefer to use a different Lilligant with Terra Ghost and use Helping Hand Torkoal, but this is another way to run it. I did run Specs Torkoal at Charlotte, but anyways, Charizard with Scarf makes a lot of sense, but I don't believe it has to be Scarf. Let's compare it to Typhlosion really quick though. Typhlosion 109 special attack, 100 speed. Compare that to Charizard. Actually the same exact offense and speed. That's funny. Let's look at Typhlosion one more time. But Typhlosion doesn't get solar power. Solar power though you do take, what is it, 1/8 damage every turn. Yeah. but you do get a 50% boost, but Typhlosion does not get that. So, actually, was I looking at the right Typhlosion? Oh, I was looking at regular Typhlosion. The other one is slightly slower, but it has more special attack than regular Typhlosion. So I would prefer the Ghost one, not just because it has 2 stats, but more because it's immune to Fake Out, even though it does make it weak to Sucker Punch. But yeah, looking at this thing, you do have either Blaze or, well, Frisk is not a useful ability in OTS. On the ladder, I'd probably use Frisk, but in an OTS tournament, I would use Blaze, and it probably won't activate, to be fair. So, yeah, if you just need the raw power in Sun, maybe use Charizard. But if you rather use like a spread move, especially being immune to Fake Out, that's a pretty useful niche, then use Typhlosion. Now let's also compare Charizard with 2 more Pokemon, Moltres and Chi-Yu. So for Moltres, it has a higher base stat total. Talonflame's one more, because it has the same typing. So Moltres has higher stats. However, it's probably not ideal for a Sun team because it doesn't have as much power. So you're probably not getting as much utility out of the Sun. It's more of like a Pokemon that's useful with either leftovers or like Grassy Seed or something, and just being bulky with like Tailwind and Roost and whatnot. It kind of reminds me of how I used to use Fleshinder with Eviolite and just try to Will-O-Wisp stuff. So Charizard is obviously special, not physical, so you can't really compare Talonflame that much to it, even though Talonflame has the same typing. It does have a extremely fast Tailwind, but yeah, Charizard's typing is not terrible, but it's not great because it's 4 times weak to Rock Slide, and Rock Slide isn't that uncommon. Like Arcanine, Hisui, and there's just a lot of Pokemon like Landorus that learn Rock Slide. So, it's still a really good Pokemon at times. Charizard can be, but you have to outspeed the opponent, and they could just use like Regieleki or Booster Energy, whatever, Bundle or Fluttermane and outspeed it. But it is so powerful, it'll probably one-shot almost anything with the Sun up. Now let's compare it to Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu has more special attack. It could probably run Modest, and let's see, it could probably run Modest instead of Timid because it doesn't really need probably need Timid if you're using Choice Scarf with it. And it also has its ability to lower their defenses, special defenses. So Charizard, though, on a Sun team could make more sense, and Terrafire helps with its firepower. So yeah, I probably agree with Terrafire. Otherwise, it's probably not quite worth using Charizard. I'm just kind of surprised he didn't use Solar Beam with it. Let's look at the typing chart and see maybe if we can figure out why. I know, well, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I know Focus Blast would be better versus Tyranitar. Okay, so fire, what resists fire? Fire. Fight fire with fire. No. Fire, water, rock, dragon. So rock is weak to fighting, but that's it. Yeah, I don't know about Focus Blast because it seems like that's just for Tyranitar, and Tyranitar's not even that common. I guess, oh, actually, see, the typing chart doesn't show everything. It doesn't show the abilities also. I wish there would be, let me know if there's a typing chart that also shows abilities, like Flash Fire. So, yeah, Heatran actually is, so most, actually, probably more for Heatran than Tyranitar because of the usage. Is just, way more Heatran than Tyranitar. If you look at the stats, 34% Heatran. Tyranitar's probably pretty dang low. Yeah, it's not even on the top 30. Even though I think it's really underrated. I was using it. But anyways, Focus Blast is definitely an option, but let's look at some other options. So, actually, before we do, we need to see if the Air Slash actually even helps with what resists fire, like to have coverage. Well, it does neutral to fire, neutral to water, rock resists both. Dragon, it would do neutral to dragon. It's not terrible. But there's other Pokemon that would do about the same thing with its second stab, like Typhlosion or Chi-Yu. So that's somewhat negligible to me. Wait, didn't he have Air Slash? I mean, yeah, he had Air. I need to remove Focus Blast. Special moves. There's not a lot. Charizard used to be used with G-Max Blast Burn and or Hurricane with the Dynamax, but yeah, you do need coverage. So Focus Blast actually makes sense. I mean, this whole Charizard makes sense. It's just kind of cringy to rely on 70% accuracy, but 70% chance to do something is better than a no chance of doing something. So I can't really blame Colding Light for this one. This is a really rare instance. Why is it not letting me click it? Really rare instance where Focus Blast actually makes sense, because you don't want to use like probably Earthquake or like Terra Ground. You could use Terra Ground, but he I don't know if it's worth all that for the Terra type and Terra Blast when Heatran could just Terra Grass anyways. Focus Blast seems like a decent move. As far as other Terras besides Fire, I probably wouldn't recommend it. Maybe something, because it seems like if you're going to use Terra Ghost, use Typhlosion instead. But I suppose you could use Terra Ghost with Charizard, and you definitely could use Solar Beam with it, and just accept that you're gonna, wait, does it even get, oh, it still gets Solar Beam. And just accept that Heatran's gonna beat you, or you could take off one of these moves and have both Solar Beam. And I would probably even take off maybe Air Slash for Solar Beam, because Solar Beam is more powerful than even a stab Air Slash, and Air Slash can miss. It can flinch them, but like, let's go to the typing chart again. Fire, yeah, you can't do anything about that unless you could use Ancient Power. People did use that, but it's probably not worth it unless Mirror, Charizard, or Talonflame is super common. And then Solar Beam would hit Water, which resists Fire. It would also hit Rock. Not really Dragon. But besides Tyranitar, there's probably not a lot of Rock types, especially that are weak to Grass. Let's see. Arcanine would take neutral. Yeah, so that's one. Arcanine. I mean, you can use it against Tyranitar, but you have to kind of bring in Sun after Tyranitar comes in. And then Glamora would take neutral, but that's better than it resisting Air Slash and the fire moves. And then, what else is even used? Garganicles didn't use that often. Cleaver, I think, would take neutral. Same for fire moves, so that's not really relevant. It is a little bit relevant for Lycanroc, even though it often has Sash. But that's mostly it. It's more for water Pokemon than rock Pokemon if you're using Solar Beam. Like Dondozo, I haven't seen like many Palafin, but Iron Bundle, even though it would probably kill that with a fire move because Iron Bundle has low special defense. Rapid Strike, even though that's also weak to Air Slash, but Air Slash again is well, the benefit of Air Slash is that you don't need Sun like Solar Beam. So I can understand Air Slash, even though I don't know, Solar Beam might be better, but maybe not. Like all these water types. But truth be told, I probably would use the Charizard just like Colding Light, and Colding Light's probably had enough experience to pick Air Slash over Solar Beam, probably for that reason, is to not make it overly dependent on Sun. Like, it can still function somewhat well outside of Sun if worse comes to worse, even though you probably don't want to pick it unless you're trying to get Sun up. He has a lot of ways to get Sun up, that's for sure. That's kind of funny. I'm assuming this is the speed raising one if he's using Sunny Day, but maybe not. So yeah, Charizard I think has a small niche. Do I think it always has to be Scarf though? I don't know why people think that. I need to post a Charizard without first make the solar beam, just so you're aware that it can use different moves. So choice specs would be an option, but Scarf might be better just to like outspeed, since you're already so powerful. You probably don't need the specs a lot of times. You probably would prefer to have speed than power. When you already have so much power, you could probably one-shot one of the two Pokemon, especially if Sun is up, that is. If Sun's not up, you probably couldn't one-shot him. But because it has a multiplier effect with the solar power plus the stab fire, or plus the sun boost, for fire moves. And as far as other Terras, you could probably get away with a Terra that's just good defensively against what it's weak to. So it's weak to rock. It's weak to water if sun isn't up. Yeah. Weak 4 times weak to rock. And it's not weak to ground. Yeah, really just water when sun isn't up, but more so rock. And then where's electric? Oh yeah, electric also super affects flying. So let's see. What is it? Electric and rock? And maybe water. It's hard to say what Terra you should use with it defensively. I would probably use Terra Fire offensively, but Heatran can't do that much. It would be more like, probably you would want to focus on resisting rock. So let's just look at what resists rock. as long as you're not also weak to electric. Fighting. Fighting would be good for close combat, or sorry, for a focus blast, and for resisting rock and taking neutral from electric, so that is an option. Ground with Terra Blast is another option, but on a choice set, I don't know if I would do that. And then Steel is an option. You could use Steel, but it already is fire type, so it already like resists fairy like Steel does. But Steel is fine, or another typing. So something, probably Fighting would make more sense than Steel, or something else that resists rock, like Ground, because it's an offensive Pokemon, so probably use it offensively and try to knock out the things that are trying to kill you instead of defensively, because you're trying to really use solar power to your advantage. Now, there's another Charizard set you could use. Life Orb. You could use Protect, and you could use Focus Blast for coverage. See, Charizard doesn't have a lot of coverage, so Focus Blast, that's why I probably wouldn't run Charizard. It's just, I wouldn't even run a Centene to begin with. I'm surprised Colding Light even got top 11th with this team, because it seems like it just auto loses to Heatran. I don't know how he beat. I guess he could pressure it with a fire move, or sorry, pressure it with actually, yeah, pressure it with a fighting move, and then when it Terra grasses, he could try to hit it with an air slash. So, but I don't know, that's just kind of predictable, and I feel like he probably lost against a lot of Heatran teams, but probably won versus other teams. So yeah, Life Orb is a decent. Those are probably the main ways to use Charizard, even though Solar Power plus Life Orb would be a lot of recoil. But it really depends on your team, and this kind of reminds me of Sunflora with the Solar Power, but it's faster. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I covered the main ways to use Charizard. If not, look up here. See ya. Did I end the video?